Hey guys, Shane here with etrailer.com, and today I have a 2020 Subaru Outback Wagon. I'm going to be installing the Stealth Hitch rack package. This is what our hitch is going to look like when it's installed. One thing that's going to set this hitch apart from others out there is, and something that I really like about it, is that the other hitches that are available for the Outback Wagon, the receiver tubes are not removable. This is actually removable, so when we're not using it, we take this receiver tube off, and it maintains a nice clean look on the back of the vehicle because our crossbar is completely hidden behind the fascia. Now to remove your receiver, it's very simple. You want to make sure it's unlocked. Simply turn the handle, and the receiver drops out. To put it back in place, you just do the opposite. Simply insert it into the hole, push it up into place till it locks, lock it in place, and you're ready to go. With our fascia removed, to give you a little bit better look at how this works, you're going to have a rubber plug right down here on the bottom of this block. When you pull this plug out, you're going to have a couple sets of keys in there for your lock. Keys are going to look like this. This is going to be your lock here. To get this in, all you're going to do is you're going to take it, push it up into place, push your lock in. That's going to lock it. It's going to keep anybody from coming up and turning that. When you want to remove it, put the key in until that lock pulls out. The handle here on the side, you're going to twist it, and it's going to allow it to slide out. A couple things I want to go over with our fascia off so you can see a little bit better. This block right here is a solid aluminum block, so you're not going to have to worry about rusting or corrosion. With it being a solid block, you really have a good solid connection point for your receiver. Again, when comparing this to some of the other hitches that are available for this vehicle, if you notice how far a receiver tube sticks out on this, the other ones don't stick out as far, which limits us on how much space that we have between our bumper fascia and anything that may fold up. So with this being able, or sticking out a little bit farther, it's going to give us that extra room needed for like our cargo carriers and bike racks that may fold up. Now I'm going to give you a few measurements to help you when deciding on any of your hitch mounted accessories, like your bike racks and cargo carriers. From the ground to the top innermost part of the receiver tube opening is about 15.5 inches. From the center of your hitch pin hole to the innermost part of your bumper fascia is going to be about 1.5 inches. When comparing that to some of the other hitches that are available for this, they're going to sit a little bit farther underneath your fascia, so they may not give you as much clearance as you need for those folding hitch mount accessories. We're going to have a 2-inch by 2-inch receiver tube opening, reinforced collar, give us a little extra stability there. The pinhole is going to be 5/8 inch in diameter. Pin and clip does not come with this, however it can be found here at etrailer.com. One thing to keep in mind is that the rack pack is only going to come with the receiver tube. The receiver tube is only designed for your bike racks and cargo carriers. If you ever plan on hauling anything in the future, like a trailer or anything like that, I recommend going with the tow package. It's going to come with your receiver tube. It's going to come with our ball mount because our receiver tube is not designed for towing. It's going to come with the safety chain loops, and it's going to come with the wiring. My professional opinion, I really like this hitch. I like how the receiver tube can be removed to maintain a nice clean look on the vehicle. As far as the installation goes, it's pretty straightforward. It can be done in your garage. It can be done on the ground. One thing I will stress is if you're considering getting the tow package at all, go for that. Go that way with it because the fascia does have to be removed, and it's a lot easier to run your wiring with your fascia removed than to just get the receiver, buy the tow package later on, and then possibly have to take your fascia back off. With that being said, let's go ahead and walk you through how to get our hitch installed. To start our installation, we need to remove our tail lights. We're going to take a Phillips screwdriver. We're going to have 2 fasteners right here on the inside of each light. And you don't need to push on them. You just want to turn them to where that center pops out. And then pull the fastener out. We're going to remove this panel, pull back from the inside, like that. Then we're going to have 2 10mm head bolts to pull out here. Take your light and pull straight back on it. Then we need to disconnect the plug. We're going to push in on that tab and unplug it. We'll set our light aside. Then we're going to repeat that same process on the other side for removing the other taillight. Then in each wheel well, we're going to have 3 rivets. What we're going to do is you're going to push the center in, like that. And then we're going to pull the rivet out. What I like to do, instead of trying to take this and stick it in there, because you don't want to scratch it, if you kind of pull out on it just a little bit, it'll kind of pull that rivet out. That'll keep you from damaging your panel. And we're going to repeat that on the other side. Then we're going to start on one side, right behind our tire. We're going to remove the fasteners that run along the bottom of our fascia. Some wagons, some Outbacks will have a mud flap here, and you will need to remove the fasteners holding the mud flap on. In our case, we don't have it. We're just going to have the fasteners, the pushpin fasteners. So we can use a flathead screwdriver, trim panel tool like this, and we're going to pull those out. Next, we're going to remove our rear fascia. It's a good idea to have an extra set of hands, if you can. What we're going to do is we're going to pull out on this corner, and we're going to work our way to the center. Keep in mind, if you have sensors, you don't want to, once you get this loose, you don't just want to pull it off, you need to unplug those sensors. So just be mindful of that, because you don't want to tear up your wiring. Pull back, and we're going to have a sensor wire right here. We're going to push in, remove the plug, and we'll set our fascia somewhere aside. Next, we're going to be removing our bumper beam. But first, we have a sensor right up here on top. We need to unplug that first. And it's going to unplug just the same way as your other one. You're going to have a little tab. You're going to push down and remove the plug. Then we'll take a 14mm socket. We're going to have 2 bolts. And then on the inside, we're going to have a nut. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Then we can pull our bumper beam off and set it aside. Next, this center bracket right here, we're actually going to have to fold it up or cut it off to get it up out of the way so it doesn't interfere with our new hitch. Now your instructions are going to tell you to remove the 2 exhaust hangers. We have enough play in this, we're not going to need to. If we look inside our frame rail here, this plug right here is what we need to remove. So we'll just take a trim panel tool or screwdriver. We're going to pry that plug out, just like that. We're going to do that on both sides of the vehicle. Now we're going to take those 2 brackets on our hitch and slide them inside the frame rail. Line up our holes. We're going to take this shorter copper colored bolt, we're going to put on a lock washer and a flat washer. We're going to go from underneath through that hole, and we're going to bolt it into that bracket that's inside of the frame rail. And we'll do that same thing on the other side. One thing I found is that right here in the center, my hitch was actually pushing up against this, and I couldn't get that bracket back far enough. So what I did is I put that nut on to pull my hitch back flat enough. When I put the bolt in, I was able to get it in without removing this isolator, but if you find it's a little bit difficult, it's very easy to remove that isolator. You can take a pair of channel locks, spray a little bit of soapy water on it, and you can pop it off. Now what I'm going to do is remove this nut now that I have those 2 installed, and then we're going to install our bumper beam back over the top of this. And our bumper beam is just going to install in reverse from the way we took it off. We will not be using the factory bolts that we pulled out, but we will be using the nut that goes on the inside here. For the bolts that go on the outside, you're going to have 4 bolts that look like this. You're going to put on a lock washer and a flat washer. Next, we're going to tighten our hardware down. We're going to start with the 3 on the outside and then go to the 2 in the frame. 14mm socket to tighten the nut down on each side. 17mm socket for the 2 bolts. Once you get everything tightened down, you're going to come back and torque it all to the specifications and the instructions. Then we're going to take our aluminum block. We're going to add 2 long hex bolts. We're going to slide it right up like this, line up the holes. And our bolts through. We'll have a lock nut for the other side. We'll tighten these down and torque them to the specifications and the instructions. 19mm socket and wrench. We'll tighten them into place. After you get that in place, you can go ahead and reinstall your fascia in reverse order from the way you took it off. The bottom of the fascia is going to require a little bit of trimming. You just want to follow your instructions when getting that cut out. Once you get that put in, you're ready to go. Next thing we're going to do before we install our fascia, we need to trim it. You're going to trim it to the specifications and the instructions. I'm just going to use a rotary tool with a plastic cutting blade. Once we have it trimmed out, we'll go ahead and test fit it and see if there's any more adjustments we need to make. If there's no more adjustments, we can just reinstall it in reverse order from the way we took it off. So to make sure when reinstalling your fascia, don't forget to plug in your sensor wire. Once you have your fascia reinstalled, you're ready to go. That's going to do it for a look at and installation on the Stealth Hitches Hitch on your 2020 Subaru Outback Wagon.